My name is Claudio Bolla. I work for Ineos, and I'm reviewing Cisco Umbrella. So the beauty of the product is that it allows me to have a federal model. And that's one of the reasons also why we chose the product. So each business unit is able to configure the product to their needs. And me sitting at group level, I define overall policies of what we want to protect. So, blocking all known evil and all known malware, or restricting things that could harm the reputation of the company or the personal health and safety of an employee. So I am able to set those rules very high level, and then it trickles down to the business unit, and the business unit can use those solutions as is, and or if they want, exaggerate and implement more security on top of it. So that's one of the flexibility that we use on a daily basis. Well, I just did, which is basically the multi-organizational component that allows me to have a federal model where I can dictate very high-level policies, and that is also true in case of an incident or a new malware or a new IP address that is coming out. Or a great example is in 2022. The whole Ukraine deal was blowing up in Europe. And from a top level, we made a decision. We were going to block all Russian domains and Ukrainian as well while we were at it. And we just pushed it to all the companies in 2 seconds after them changing control, of course. And that was actually quite valuable. That gives us a lot of freedom and ability. The fact that the product also allows me to have the segmentation permits me to follow the various regulation in the countries. So, for example, in Germany, there is a lot of stricter rules on what you can do and not do in the monitoring an employee from a work council and union perspective. And therefore, we have a special setup for them specific, and also where the logs are stored in region. While my American team, they have the same thing, but in that case, the storage of those logs are stored in the US. And that gives us that great flexibility for sure. Then, okay, there is some businesses that are also using it, police employees, meaning, well, I don't want them to see them, job search websites, or I don't want them to be looking at travel, planning their vacation during business hours. Or I don't want my blue collar workers to do anything other those 10 applications on the internet and on the web. So we are able to do that. It's not the part that is more fun because there's a lot of HR involvement there, but we use it also that way. So there is always room for improvement in all products, for sure. On the umbrella part, I would say that the room for improvement is on the data loss prevention part. So it sits on the PCs, it sees a lot of the traffic that goes on, it knows what files are on the PCs, but it's actually not stopping some of the intellectual property or personal identifiable information from going out. So we are able to block users from accessing application and websites or even IP addresses, but we're not able to go a bit granular more on the data loss prevention side. That's a gap that I have in the product. So first of all, I will never give a 10 to anyone. So let me set it right. So the scale is from 1 to 9. I would say that I would recommend it probably a 9. Yeah. No, we really liked the product. We really enjoyed how it works for us and how it fits our federal model. But we definitely would recommend it. The well-suited product, it's actually in 2 areas. One, I already touched base earlier, which is the ability to have a federal model where we have the flexibility to set high-level policies from a group perspective while giving the independence to the business unit to operate and model the system to meet their needs. And the second one, which is very powerful, especially in the last few years, is the remote workers. I'm able to protect and extend that edge of my security to their endpoint, regardless if they are at Cisco Live or if they are at a bar or on a train, basically anywhere. So as a chemical company, we have a lot of OT or ICS, industrial control systems, which is highly regulated and highly scrutinized, and it usually requires a physical presence, while Cisco Umbrella is mostly a cloud native type of product. So it doesn't actually fit well in that environment, which is basically detached from the internet. INEOS as a physical product. So cybersecurity is less important from a selling perspective. It's more ensuring that we continuously have operation. So we have 24-hour a day operation. Chemical plant cannot be shut down like if it was a car. It's not like you hit the brake and you stop within certain amount of meters of yards. It takes sometimes weeks to cool down a furnace that is at 3,000 degrees Kelvin. So you need to find a way to protect it and ensure that operational excellence and stability be there. That's one area. And then the second one being critical national infrastructure in many of the regions that we operate, following the regulatory compliance part. Those are the two drivers and business objectives that I need to try to meet. And they are also, by the way, the background and the drivers for my investments in cybersecurity. So first of all, in Europe, we don't have a culture of saying what other vendors do bad, right? So you don't expect me to say that. But definitely Cisco comes with a lot of history and a lot of a big good footprint. So for us, it was very important to have a product that we could implement globally and have the lowest latency possible, especially doing the filtering of our browsing and filtering of our internet connection. So that was for us one of the main reasons for choosing Umbrella. Another reason for choosing Umbrella over other products was the granularity of the reporting and visibility that we obtained. And least but not last, because it's always been going back to what I've been saying earlier, it ties back to the federal model that allowed me. There were a lot of products out there. There are a lot of products out there, but there are very few that allow me to have this overarching security posture or baseline security that I set from a group level while giving the businesses the independence they need to operate. So it's a quite interesting question. I would say yes and no. So we use it in trying to predict the behavior of the users. Are we always effective in it? And are we very good at it? Probably not. There is still a lot of room to maneuver, mainly because we need to aggregate a lot of data to do it. So I would say it's a need. Yes. And actually, it's affecting it now and it will affect it in the future because it gives us that ability to look at billions of events and logs in order to predict what normal behavior is going to be from a user and what is not going to be an abnormal behavior. And especially now with a lot of large language model and other technologies out there, you have engineers that do not know how to program and therefore do not know a programming language, and they are using these models to actually write their own scripts in their own software, which complicates the life of security. And we are hoping that the predictive analytics and the AI will help us to identify that as good behavior versus bad behavior. So we evaluated a lot of products. The good part is that we didn't actually have to go outside. So INEOS grew by acquisition, and therefore we inherited a lot of products in there. So we definitely looked at Netscope and Fortinet because they were within our sphere of product portfolios that we had in the company. And those, they were the primary two that we looked at. Well, we are using Umbrella. So it's always very hard to calculate return on investment, especially on security and especially in a physical product. So it's not like I'm going to be selling a lot more plastic or a lot more aviation fuel because I implemented Umbrella. What I know is that definitely the return on investment is on the ability to the business continue to run and give the assurance that our users are safe. Yes. Me. Yes and no. Yes. 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 There is room for improvements. Oh, that's always a very good question. Sales like to sell. No, I would say yes, it did. No, it didn't. And let me caveat that. It didn't because we actually did the selection of the solution prior to COVID at the end of 2019. And then in 2020, in the middle of COVID blowing up in Europe, we started rolling out the product. So we started going from a traditionally on-prem solutions where all our endpoints were on-prem and we could contact them to having all these endpoints suddenly working remote. So we went from having on average 200 remote users per day. Basically, over a weekend, we went to 7,000. And all of a sudden, those endpoints were not able to be deployed and connected to our deployment solution. That's where the hard part and the lack of planning or deviation of the plan originated. Yes. Well, I think almost everyone, I use the operating system, so Windows and Microsoft Office 365. I think it's one of the main applications. ECP, unfortunately, is part of doing business, which is required. And then I have a large suite of portfolio of security products that I use on a daily basis, or at least the dashboard I use on a daily basis, and my team operate. It depends very much on the solution in particular. Let's say that I've been in the industry for over 25 years, so I grew up with Microsoft, but I learned not to trust me too much. So it's a love-hate relationship there. So I don't know. There's some things that they do very well, and others they don't.